Hello everyone, welcome to another YouTube live video, and today's video is going to be super exciting. Direct listing GME or GameStop stock in a self-directed IRA LLC. This is a subject I actually didn't think I'd be ever talking about. I actually have to admit I am an ape. I own GameStop stock. I didn't buy a lot of it. But when everything was going on back in April of 21, wow, it's hard to believe. It's almost a year and a half. I was just mesmerized how regular folks grouped on Reddit were able to band together and defeat these monster hedge funds. And I just was blown away. So I was like, I got to buy some shares. And I bought some shares with my kids. We still own them. And I never really understood direct listing or direct registration. To be honest, I'm a tax lawyer. I feel like I'm a pretty sophisticated, smart guy. And over the last 4 or 5 months, I've had people asking me whether I was going to direct register my shares. I said, why? I own them through a brokerage. I think they're safe, right? It's a big brokerage firm. Why should I be worried? And then one of these folks, actually a friend and a client, sent me a link, and I started reading. I was like, oh my God, there are all these shares that are literally being shorted and essentially naked shorted. So people are shorting GameStop stock and ultimately aren't even an owner of the shares, which is technically illegal, but it's going on. Yes, the SEC banned naked short sales 10 years ago, but if you look what happened in the GameStop saga back in April, that's exactly what happened, right? There were millions of shares out there that were being borrowed and given to hedge funds to cover short positions that, in fact, were actually never, in fact, warranted. So ultimately, reminds me a lot what happened kind of in this crypto crisis with a lot of these DeFi and some of these loan programs through like BlockFi, for example, where honestly the same crypto was being lent out, 4 times to 4 different people and no one even knew about it. But unlike cryptos, which isn't regulated, the SEC was supposed to regulate naked short selling, which they claim they are, but it's questionable. So that kind of led me down this whole rabbit hole. And I actually didn't know that the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, had a monopoly on the stuff. I actually thought I owned the shares that were held in a brokerage account that were through or listed through the DTCC. I was shocked to learn that I'm just a beneficiary of the shares. Technically, really don't own them. There's a promise, a wink, wink, that, hey, you're going to get your shares back, but it's actually not registered in my name. I actually didn't know that. I'm going to be honest and admit it. So I started reading and learning more about the DTCC. And it's like, whoa, this is kind of out there. I can't believe that the regulators allow one company to control the listing of all these publicly traded shares. Billions, and I guess not billions, but hundreds of millions, not billions of shares out there that one company has total monopoly over. So started reading more and learned about in more detail what happened back in April of 21, which I'll go through, and I'll explain how short selling works, what happened to GameStop, and why direct registration actually makes sense. And it's not kooky and crazy. And it could, I believe, make equity trading more fair and equitable, because naked short selling just will be much harder, because you're going to actually have to borrow real shares that are actually listed to real people, and the brokerage firms can't just lend out the shares. Now, the brokerage firms, which again I've learned, make a lot of money by lending out shares to short sellers to cover positions. There's fees. And all this is starting to make sense. So now when I talk to someone who wants to direct register, whether it's GameStop, AMC, or other companies, I understand it. I feel you guys. I totally get why you want to do this. Some people, honestly, 3 or 4 months ago, I thought you guys were crazy. I was like, it makes no sense to direct register shares. Stupid. Honestly, makes no sense. Waste your time. And now I totally am with you guys. So just real quick, in a self-directed IRA, obviously, if you own GameStop shares personally, IRA Financial can help you. IRA Financial is a leading custodian of self-directed retirement accounts. We have 23,000 clients, over $3 billion in assets. We custody assets. We don't sell investments. We are not a brokerage firm. We don't give investment advice. We simply custody alternative assets. The majority of our clients' assets are tied into real estate, private placements, hedge funds, private equity, venture capital funds, cryptos. We generally don't do stock. Why? Because when you custody stock, you need to be a broker dealer, like a Fidelity, right, or a Schwab or a Vanguard. We're not a broker dealer. That's why we typically only custody private shares, private businesses or private equity, venture capital, so on and so forth. So when I was approached several months ago saying, hey, could IRA Financial direct, register, and custody those shares through computer share? It's like, yeah, we can do it. No problem. An IRA, an LLC is created. So an IRA will own 100% of an LLC, a limited liability company, pass-through entity, no taxation. It's a disregarded entity since it's owned by one IRA. And then that LLC will take title to those shares. The LLC is controlled by you. You're the manager of the LLC. You have total control over that LLC. And the shares are listed and registered in the name of that LLC, giving you, not the brokerage company, not the DTCC, control over those shares. So we're working and looking for a way to work with computer share to see if we can direct register in the name of the IRA. But for now, an LLC is used, and we're obviously giving discounts and taking care of the GME apes because it's really just a single purpose LLC that's just used for registration. But we do this. We've been doing this quite often the last couple months, and now I understand you guys. At first, when someone approached me, I was like, this is a waste of time. Like, why would you guys spend the money on this? It's stupid. It makes no sense. But I got you. Okay, so we're going to take care of you guys. We're going to give you great service. And again, there's no conflict of interest. We're not a broker dealer. We don't sell stocks. We're not allowed to. We don't give investment advice. We don't lend out shares. All we're doing is being the custodian of your IRA or 401k or Roth IRA or SEP IRA or simple IRA. We don't care. We custody our IRA. We take flat fees. We don't make money on what you do, whether it's real estate, private placements, stock. We don't care. We'll custody it. We do all IRS reporting. And in the case of the GME stock, when it's directly registered with PureShare, it's registered in the name of the LLC. You can call it anything you want, XYZ LLC, ABC LLC. The IRA owns 100% of the LLC. You manage it. The operating agreement will show you as the manager. You have 100% authority over the LLC, not us, you. And this way you can decide what you want to do with the shares. Any proxy voting will go to you as the manager of the LLC, not to us. Again, we're not the broker dealer. We can't lend out your shares. We don't own the shares. We're only the custodian of the IRA. The IRA owns the LLC, and you manage the LLC and total control over the operations of the LLC, including the activity of the assets of the LLC, which is the GME stock. So if you have questions, obviously put them in the chat. If you want to get super technical with GME, you probably know a lot more than me on that. I'm just kind of giving you the IRA custodian kind of take on this. Happy to answer any tax questions. As you know, if you own GME stock in an IRA, there's no tax when you sell it. You don't have to worry about holding basis. There's no gains because it's an IRA. If it's a Roth IRA, also everything goes back to the Roth IRA without tax. But so long as you're over 59 and a half and the Roth's been open at least 5 years, you can pull those funds out of the Roth IRA tax-free. Okay, so how do we get here? Right before April, everyone knew what GameStop was, right? My kids shop there. They love video games. I've been there probably bought an Xbox there. Never really thought about it, right? Some people said, well, it's a dying business. People are buying games online. No one goes into GameStop. It's a waste. This company's got no future. It's going to die, just like Radio Shack, okay? And then obviously COVID hits. People are at home, and people are spending more time online. and Reddit and banding together. And then what happened, starting in, I guess, February or March, well, maybe going back to January 21, is, and I got this timeline from a bunch of sources. So if I'm inaccurate, or if you guys have anything to add, let me know. But this is what I pulled together. Basically, January 19th, Citron Research, research firm who are famous for short selling. Andrew left. He basically took aim at GameStop, and he says, the company sucks. The shares were $41.55 at that day, and they were basically shorting the hell out of the shares. Basically, the stock's going to go to nothing. It's a dying company like Radio Shack. It's got no future. January 21, the stock was at 43.03. January 22, 21, GameStop surges 50%. Right? What's going on? We see a tug of war now between everyday investors and hedge funds. Everyday investors buying the shares, trying to push the price up, and the hedge funds freaking out and not knowing whether they're going to try to cover their short positions. Because when you buy a stock short, right, your losses is potentially infinite, right? The shares can go up infinitely. Your gains are limited, right? Because it can only go to zero. But your losses, if the stock goes to 1,000, right, you got some pretty bad losses there. So what short sellers try to do is they cover positions. Okay, so if the stock maybe goes up $10, they'll start buying so they can really cover their losses. But when there's just short squeeze, meaning the shares are going up very fast and all these shorters are having to get into the market to keep buying the stock, they're pushing the price up. So they're actually going against themselves, but there's nothing they can do. Okay. And that's kind of what happened towards January, February. The shares went from 40 to 96. Elon Musk gets involved and starts backing GameStop, apes, mafia, whatever you want to call them. And the shares soared 140% January 27th up to $354. January 27th, major short sellers close at a significant loss. Right? Citron, Melvin Capital, two big short sellers basically said, we're getting out of this thing. And then what happens? January 28th, Robinhood and other platforms basically restrict transactions on GME. Now, some people say, well, Citadel was losing a lot of money. So Citadel clears all the trades for Robinhood, so they put pressures on Robinhood. Robinhood said, no. We're forced to add more liquidity. We don't have enough money, so we can't offer those shares anymore. We're not able to trade them. And this is, Wall Street Bets, which is a popular Reddit group. They're in it, and the stock, peaks at $483 before dropping $112 at the close. January 29th, the SEC weighs in and starts putting pressures on these platforms to allow the trading of GME stock. And then February 2nd, GME falls, and it's down to about $140. February 4th, 21, Yellen, which the Treasury Secretary, she addresses the saga, and I actually have some interesting quotes. I pulled some of the her quotes up, and some other folks in Congress, and a lot of it was targeted at naked short selling. Right? They still don't understand how this was possible. How could the trading drop so much? And as we know, it had to do with the fact that there were all these shorts out and these shares that maybe shouldn't have been available were available for these short position holders to use to cover positions. And that's led everyone over the last year or so to find ways to stop and prevent market manipulation and price suppression, right? That's the core of registration. Just remember this. If you want to think about why people want to direct register, it's simply to prevent ongoing market manipulation and price suppression. And I didn't understand this 3 or 4 months ago. Now I do. And this is something that blew me away. And I couldn't believe this. Let me find this statistic because it was really interesting that every month the SEC posts failure to deliver data that shows billions of shares delivered. 1.5 billion in the second half of April 2022 alone. Okay, so rather than reversing the transactions, it's allowed to fail to deliver 1.5 billion in the second half of April 2022 alone. Okay. So rather than reversing the transactions, it's allowed to fail to deliver, and the borrower is told they have 35 days to get a share to deliver. So kind of right how you solve the naked short, you give them 35 to cover. So 1.5 billion shares are essentially naked short, or have been naked. They've been sold and lent out without anyone delivering the shares. Now, some people will say, well, they're not naked. They were bored. They're just never delivered. Whatever, right? Naked short ain't supposed to be banned. It's questionable if that ban exists. The SEC has, in the last year, started to put pressure on pursuing naked short cases, but it's happening. And when I saw that 1.5 billion shares in the second half of April 2022 were not delivered, that woke me up. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I'm on this bandwagon. And I truly believe that direct registration makes sense. So that being said, obviously in an IRA, we can help you, and we're going to help you, and we're going to make it as cost effective as possible so that you could, through your retirement account, through your IRA, your SEP, or your Roth, your Simple, or your 401k, own these shares where you, as the manager of the LC, you in your own name, John Doe, Adam Bergman, have direct control, and the shares are directly registered to the LC, not to a brokerage firm, giving you more control and hopefully stopping manipulation and price suppression. So how does short selling work, real quick? If you're listening and like, I understand short selling, but not really, this is how it works. First step, you borrow shares from a broker who's willing to lend them for a fee, right? And that's a key thing. There's a fee. People didn't realize this, but there was a lot of money being made on lending out shares. You sell those shares in the open market, okay? And then you buy back the shares, hopefully when it goes down, right? You buy it at 40, goes down to 30, you made 10 bucks. But if it goes from 40 to 400, you're in deep trouble, right? And again, it's infinite. It can go to 4,000 or 4 million. So short position holders, they need to cover their losses. And that's kind of what fed this dragon, and the fire from the dragon's mouth kept getting hotter, and more powerful, because they had to keep covering their positions. The stock kept going up and up and up. And really, it was kind of like the American Revolution. And I can't consider myself part of the mafia or the AIM ape group, because I only kind of got in at the end. I didn't buy, in January. I bought more in February when it was already dropping. But you guys essentially took out the big bad wolf. That's not American. I don't know what it is, right? When you band together a group of investors, believe in something, and take out these multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, and almost, Melvin Capital basically shut down, right? They just announced a couple months ago they shut down. So, David really outsmarted and defeated Goliath, which, hey, I'm all for that. So short selling is dangerous, and these hedge funds made a lot of money on short selling, but they got burnt. And, in my opinion, I think it's kind of un-American to short sell. Like, yeah, you can do it. It's legal. But if you don't like the stock, just don't buy it. But to bet on it to go down, I guess it's fair. Just like if you bet sports, you bet the under, right? Let's say you feel that, Patrick Mahomes will have less than 30 touchdowns. You can bet that, right? And you hope he only has 29 touchdowns. That's fair. It's kind of the short. The only difference with gambling is if he's has 40 touchdowns, you lose your bet. But with a short position, the losses could be infinite. So GameStop, really the lessons of GameStop is short selling is risky. There is market manipulation. Naked short selling still is around. And these brokerage firms are just lending out shares left, right, and center without telling you and making money on it. And on top of that, the DTC has a monopoly on this whole marketplace. And the little guy, there's not enough shares, liquidity for Apple or Amazon or other shares, that the whole equity markets will fall apart. I'm not saying that, but GameStop is a good example that there is market manipulation and stocks price suppression with all these shares out there that you can grab and short sell, because the brokerage firms are more than happy to give them out because of the fees they're making on it. So I learned a lot, and I'm going to directly register my shares. I don't own them in a retirement account, so I can't use IRA Financial. I own them personally, but that's kind of the core of this video. If people have questions, I'm happy to answer them. They could be about GME or not. So someone asked, computers show only allow deposits of $250 per year per stock. It's good to know. See, I'm not an expert on registration. Again, I'm a tax lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a registered investment advisor. I don't own a broker dealer. I'm just truly believe in the fact that people should have control. And that's one of the reasons I started IRA Financial. Just to give you a quick background on who I am. I was a tax lawyer in New York City for 9 years. Never knew that you could take control of your retirement account and invest in alternative assets. I thought you had to buy stocks and mutual funds with your retirement account. Didn't know, but you can. So that's what led me to start IRA Financial and give people more control and more power over their retirement accounts. And it's kind of the same story with GameStop, is that you want more control. You want to have the shares listed in your name so you have total power and control over the shares, so you know that you have dominion over the shares so that no one can manipulate them, borrow them without your consent. It's really crazy that brokers are allowed to borrow shares, lend them out without telling you, and basically make the fees and you make nothing. It's crazy. I can't believe it's legal, right? They're taking your shares, they're held with them, lending them out, making money on it, and you're not getting any of the money. It'd be a great business if you can find a way to share the fees with the client. Someone should definitely do that. But again, IRA Financial, we don't sell stock. We don't give investment advice. So if you're looking for a place that will help you direct register your retirement account without any conflict of interest, no self-dealing, we're not going to lend out your shares. We're not going to sell you stock. We're simply going to take care of all the IRS reporting with respect to your GameStop stock. We're the place, and we'd love to help you. So if you are interested, you can give us a call, 800-472-0646. You can chat us. You can email us at info@IRA Financial. You can email me, Bergman at IRA Financial. I'm happy to answer your questions or put you in the right position. But essentially, this was an eye-opening experience for me. Really thought direct registration was a joke and really made no sense. And I was wrong. So you guys taught me a lot. You guys know who you are. There's a bunch of clients out there that are feeding me really good information from Reddit, some just from the internet, and some just to me and explaining the power of direct registration and how much price suppression and manipulation actually exists in the marketplace and still exists. And I just wasn't aware of it, honestly. So thank you for sharing that information. And that's the beauty, is we all can learn from each other. Hopefully I can share some tax knowledge and information that will help you, and you guys are teaching me at the same time. So thanks for watching. I know this was a kind of a specialized topic that really is not specifically tied to self-directed investment, but there's been a lot of interest in direct registration over the last 4 or 5 months. So I just wanted to put the video out there and let people know you can do it. IRA Financial can help you. There's no conflict of interest. We're not going to lend out your shares. We're not a broker dealer. We're simply an IRA trust company that custodies alternative assets for retirement accounts. That's it. One more question. I can do this with other stocks or ETFs. Fidelity won't allow me to open a brokerage account for my IRA. Do I have no way to buy stocks and ETFs to my account? You can. Interactive brokers will allow you to open a brokerage account for your IRA LLC. We're also working with a partnership with Fidelity that will allow you to do that through us, where you'll be able to do stock trading through our app. That's in the works. We're starting with a robo program that will launch in the next month, and then we're going to go to individual stocks in the coming months thereafter. So we feel you. Again, the brokerage firms, they're not our friends. I got a lot of friends that are RIAs and wealth managers, and I love them dearly, but they're not our friends. Okay, they're looking out for themselves, and they're not trying to make it easier for us. If they can't make money, they're not going to want to help us. So the short selling, the fact that they're making all these fees on the shares without sharing it with the client or without getting client permission is mind-boggling that the SEC allows for that, and how prevalent it is and continues to be. I just had no idea. So thank you for sharing that information with me. Any questions, let us know. We're here to help, and go get them. I'm holding my GameStop shares. Let me know if I should buy more. Hit me up. My kids are into it. They kind of love being part of the community. Some of the stuff on Reddit, it's a little bit too advanced for them. Some of the technical details and the graphs, but they're following it. We check every couple days. And we also bought AMC, but we're more GameStop. Just love what you guys have done, and super focused on the community, and hopefully helping people take more control over their shares. So thanks again for spending some time with me today. Really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day. Cheers. Thanks.